Hi, my name is Julie Schoenfeld, and I'm the President and CEO of Perfect Market, a company that helps large publishers make more money, increase engagement, and more traffic on their websites. And if you saw my previous presentation, Simplifying the Display Ad LUMAscape, you know that I have focused on looking at the market from a number of dimensions. And this presentation updates that with the analogy of a game of 3D chess. So what I'd like to do is walk you through a different dimension of looking at the display ad LUMAscape. So starting with the LUMAscape that we all know and love, just as a refresher, there's $4.5 billion worth of venture capital invested in the hundreds of companies that play in this LUMAscape. And it's essentially an unsustainable ecosystem because there's too many players in the system. There is not strong integration between one player and the next. And finally, too much money is leaking out of the system between the advertiser and the publisher, and it has to change. So let's look at it in terms of the game of 3D chess. The original LUMAscape is the first layer of the chessboard, and the opening is the recognized sequence of opening moves. So if you are a publisher in the early days of the internet and you want to sell advertising on you want to place advertising on your website, what are the things that you have to do? And really, the LUMAscape itself was born out of that need, both from an advertiser and a publisher perspective. So what we have said is between the buy and the sell of advertising and inventory, and whether you are an agent or a sales force, there are really 6 major functions. On the demand side, you have to establish the campaign goals as an advertiser, you have to plan and develop the creative, and you have to place and optimize those ads before the buy and the sell. On the publisher side, the supply side, you have to develop your audience, package and price that audience, and implement and optimize the audience. So one way to look at the first layer of the chessboard is that if you simplify the LUMAscape into these 6 functions between the buy and the sell, you can then place the companies and technologies into what the functions are that they provide. And this helps you sort out the linearity of the chessboard itself. So here are some examples of the kinds of companies that fit into each of these functional blocks and the names of the companies themselves. Now, it's important to remember which way the money flows in this chess game because the money is leaking out of the system, but much of the funds that are in the system itself go from left to right. The advertisers' dollars go towards the publisher, but they leak off and leak out of the system in between. Because so much money is coming from the left, it does indicate where some of the power is on the chessboard itself. So if you're thinking about this first level of the chess game, the winning strategy to be able to win this game is integration. And there is a winner. Google has provided solutions that fit every single functional category that go across this chasm. And they've done a very good job of providing a complete publisher solution. There are others in the game that include Yahoo, who have solutions across the entire chasm almost the full way. They perhaps have lost some market momentum. Microsoft as well. AOL is very, very strong on the publisher side, so perhaps strategically they'll be looking to move on to the advertising side, or maybe not. So these are some of the questions that you can answer or ask yourself if you're trying to understand which way this game is going to go. There are additionally some other players in the game, like Adobe and IBM, who are also doing a strong integration across the chasm. But I think that the point is that the way the LUMAscape evolved, the game is pretty much over and the winner is Google. So the question is, what happens next? So in the parlance of a chess game, there's the notion of the break. And the break refers to an advance or capture that opens up a blocked position. So what is the blocked position? Well, if you look at the positioning of the chessboard or the LUMAscape in a different way, you have premium advertising, which requires high-touch selling, and you have the continuum all the way to remnant or long-tail advertising that has automated or low-touch selling. So we all know that the premium advertising requires a lot of martini lunches, RFPs, and golf games, where the remnant area requires great automation. Another thing to think about in terms of this level of the chessboard is that the money flows in the price per advertising from the premium to the remnant. So again, it defines a bit of a strategy. When you look at the LUMAscape, what you need to realize is that there are two very strong power positions. And these power positions are like magnetic forces for all these companies that are participating in the LUMAscape because they are building their technology in support of these strong power players. So in the upper left-hand side of the LUMAscape, one of the big power players are the agencies. And the reason they're very, very powerful in this segment is because they represent multiple brands. And not only do they represent multiple brands online, where you have a $32 billion marketing spend last year, they also represent the $70 billion of television ad spend. So they are stronger than any individual brand because they cut across more brands and because they control the offline dollars. So they are a very, very strong power player in the LUMAscape. And it's said that a lot of the real-time bidding activity that's going on with technology vendors is in support of the agencies themselves. The other major power player is Google. And in the long-tail, low-touch space, Google has pretty much locked this system up. And again, two strong power players, how do you win a game in the face of that? And so they hold the block on the first level of the chess game. So how do you break it for the second level of the chess game? Some people think it's the real-time bidding, but we at Perfect Market think that there's a third dimension in this chess game, or a third constituent, and it's the individuals who decide which advertising they're going to consume, which content they're going to consume, and how they are going to share that content with their networks. So our belief is that the break on this chessboard involves the ability to influence the people who are sharing the advertising and sharing the content. And so whoever is able to come up with the tools that will mobilize your audience, both from an advertising standpoint and a content sharing standpoint, will win this game. So if you look at this 2D chess game, potential winners are Facebook and Google. And so I think it's important to look at the contrast between Facebook and Google to think through what would be going on in this level of the chess game. First of all, the users. Facebook has announced 900 million active users, and Google has over 1 billion active users on Google and 170 million users on Google+. Now, some people say that Google Plus is nothing compared to Facebook, but it is the fastest growing product of all times. It has done 170 million users in 7 months, which really is fairly astounding. Google Plus is being described as the spinal cord, or the spinal connective tissue between all of Google's products. And if you look at it that way, as opposed to a place where people are going to be spending time like they do in Facebook, you realize the power of the tool itself. The impact of Facebook is that it has a strong emotional connection. With sponsored stories, if you put a family member or a close friend in the middle of a brand, you'll have an emotional connection to the brand. So that's the advertising connection. What Google has recognized is that ads perform more than 10 times better when they appear in content that's been plussed by a friend. So Google's ROI focus is able to tell you exactly how social connections perform from an ROI standpoint. From a user experience standpoint, Facebook is likely to push ads at you when you're looking at things like photos, wedding pictures, and personal items, whereas Google likes to deliver ads at the moment of commercial intent through their search engines. So there's a very different basis for how both players are advertising and how they're dealing with the ability of getting brand information to you while you're consuming content. And it's important to look at the global share of market in terms of ads. 3% for Facebook and 44% for Google. And Google's market share has been growing. So when you look at these two players, they're two very, very formidable players. Facebook has a large user base that is growing and people spending a lot of time, but a very small percentage of the ad marketplace. Google's been at the ad business for a long time. They understand the metrics, they understand what's going on, and they also are repositioning Google Plus in such a way that they're able to use the social graph to deliver advertising in a great way. And so the Gambit, which is the next level of the chessboard, who's going to play the game right to be able to win the next layer of the LUMAscape? So if you remember the fact that the original first level of the chessboard describes web pages, and web pages or portals as a category are declining in growth 28% per year. Behind these web pages, you have a network of portals, people, and places. So behind a portal is a network of people, each of whom are doing interesting things. And behind that network of people is a network of locations, and locations is a measure of intent. So the complexity of the chess game becomes very tantamount as you get to the third level. And who's going to win this? There are two ways of providing products and advertising. One is through intent, the other one is through emotion. And the winning strategy is to be able to connect users with both an intent and emotion style of product wherever they are. And so the winner of this chess game is still to be determined, because Facebook certainly owns the emotion, Google certainly owns the intent. And so is there examples out there of companies that are doing this? I would argue that the first company that's doing a great job of combining emotion and intent is Pinterest. Another example that combines emotion with location is Instagram. So these are some of the companies that are taking the chess game to the next level, and those that can do it seamlessly and wrap around the user in wherever they're looking at content, how they're connected to their network, and where they may be located will win this game. So the first dimension was the functionality of the chessboard. The second dimension was the power position. And the third dimension is the access point. And there are lots of interesting technologies emerging, and we believe that whoever gets there first will have an interesting opportunity for checkmate. Thank you.